All right, let's look at question 52. What is the 275th digit after the decimal point in the repeating decimal 0.6295? So this line over 0.6295 just means it's repeating those four numbers infinitely. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 275, divide it by the four digits that are there, and we get 68.75, or in other words, so it goes through these four digits 68 full times, and then 3/4 of the way through. So that means the third number of the four would be the 275th digit. 53, given that f of x equals x squared minus 4 and g of x equals x plus 3, what are all the values of x for which f of g of x equals 0? A couple ways to do this, but I think working backwards is probably the quickest. And what I'm going to identify first is I'm going to identify numbers that are showing up in more than one place, so I can kill two birds with one stone. So let's check -1. So we're going to take -1 and we're going to insert it for x, which means according to this, we're going to insert it into the g function first. So g of -1 becomes -1 plus 3, which is 2. And now we're going to take 2 and we're going to substitute it in for x in the f function. So f of 2 would be 2 squared minus 4. 4 minus 4, that's 0. So -1 works, so we know the answer is either going to be A or C. So let's check -5 now. And we're going to take -5 and substitute it for x. I'll do it down here. -5 plus 3 is -2, and then we take -2 and substitute it into the f function, and we see this is going to work out. -2 squared is 4, 4 minus 4 is 0, so this is our answer. Given that p is a positive number, n is a negative number, and the absolute value of p is greater than the absolute value of n, which of the following expressions has the greatest value? So in a problem like this, I just like to make up numbers. So let's say p is 4. It says p is a positive number. It says n is a negative number, but it has a smaller absolute value than p. So that means it needs to be -3, -2, or -1, so that its distance from 0 is smaller. So those are the two values I'm going to pick, and I'm just going to substitute those in for each choice. So choice 1, if p is 4 minus -3 all over 4, remember it's the absolute value of this, so the absolute is going to end up being the absolute value of 7 over 4, or 7/4. It's 1.75 in decimal format. All right, next choice, 4 minus -3 divided by 3. Absolute value, that's going to be 7/3. Absolute value of 7/3 is 1.67. So far, this one is bigger. Cross that out. H, so that's 4 plus -3 over 4 minus -3. Absolute, don't forget it's the absolute value. So this is 1/7. That's going to be smaller. P plus N, letter J, that would be 4 plus -3. Again, that's going to be 1 over some number, so I know that's going to be smaller. And I know K is also going to be 1 over some number, so that's going to be smaller as well. So it's got to be F. 55. If I equals the square root of -1, and it does, it's the imaginary number, we want to evaluate this equation. So I'm just going to substitute the square root of -1 everywhere I see I. And when I have an exponent, I'm going to use the parentheses to make this a little bit easier. And hold 1 second. I just thought of something that makes this a lot easier because we're getting cubes to the 4th to the 5th. It's getting a little tricky. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to factor the top. I'm going to factor an I out of the top, and it's going to become 1 plus I squared. Just make it a little bit easier. In the bottom, I'm going to factor out an I cubed. It's going to become 1 plus I squared as well. Oh, so this does come out nice and neat because this cancels with this completely, and we're just left with I over I cubed, which actually that reduces as well. This I cancels, and this becomes an I to the squared. So it's just 1 over I squared. And then we're going to replace the I with the square root of -1. When you square a square root, those are inverse operations. So it's just 1 over -1, which is -1. All right, on 56. So a couple things that can help us. We've got a line. This top equation is a line, and the bottom equation is a circle. The line, because we have the or equal to symbol, that means the line has to be solid. So that means we can rule out G. The circle does not have the or equal to symbol, so that means the circle has to be dashed, which that's the case in all of these. So the next step is I'm going to graph the line. So I think that's going to rule out a couple of these. So let's solve it for y. So I'm going to move the x to the right-hand side, and then I'm going to divide everything by a +2. So it's going to be y is less than or equal to -1/2 x plus 3. So that means we are shading less than in this problem, which means we're going to be shading under the line. So that rules out H. Has a negative slope, so that means this line is going downhill from left to right. So we're ruling this one out. The y-intercept is at +3. Well, I can't really tell because there's no numbers which one of those is 3. So this is where I'll need the circle. So let's take this circle and let's put the circle in standard form. So to do that, I'm going to move the -3y squared to the left, and it becomes a +y squared. And then I'm going to divide everything by 3. So now this circle is in standard form. The center would be 0, 0, and then the radius would be 2. So remember, you've got to know this formula. And you'll notice there is no h or k in this problem, and that's why I knew this center was 0, 0. And the radius, this is the radius squared, so r squared is 4, so that means the radius is 2. So they're saying from the center of the circle to the perimeter of that circle is 2, which means it should not reach the y-intercept of +3, so k has to be the answer.